we published our public statement. We stand united, not against AI itself, but against corporations that have built systems on stolen music. The end product is a very important piece of whether it's fair to train without authorization. Now, this is an important piece on where we stand today. Anthony Fantano, Benn Jordan, Curtis King, DJ Payne 1, and 1,300 others have all spoken out, and they said enough is enough. And the reason why is bigger than you think. So yesterday, we published our public statement, and this public statement is by and on behalf of all independent music creators. So let's go through it. Now, for context, my law firm, Delgado Entertainment Law, joined forces with class action law firm EKSM, and we filed class action lawsuits in the pursuit of defending and protecting and seeking justice related to independent music creators and the fact that their music was used without their permission or authorization. But let's take a look at this public statement. Independent artists and industry leaders Benn Jordan, Curtis King, Anthony Fantano, Venus Theory, DJ Payne 1, Kuddie Fresh, also known as K-Fresh, Sync My Music, Tony Justice, and almost 1,300 others stand united to defend creators' rights against unlawful AI training and protect the future of music. We stand united, not against AI itself, but against corporations that have built AI systems on stolen music without consent or compensation. Now, before I continue, this has already received over 1 million views just in the first day, and I'm really excited about not just where we sit right now with our lawsuits, but we'll also be talking in this video about, well, what's happening in the other AI companies that are getting sued and their lawsuits. But let's go back to the public statement. Independent music creators are among the world's greatest innovators. They shape culture and take the creative risks that drive the entire industry forward. Yet time and again, independent music creators are the first to be exploited and the last to be protected. Today, powerful AI companies, including Suno and Udio, are profiting from their work without credit, without compensation, and without permission. In just one example, Suno has publicly admitted to scraping and duplicating tens of millions of, quote, publicly available, that's from their answer in a different lawsuit, publicly available songs to train its AI models. Songs that very likely belong, by far majority, to independent music creators. As alleged in our class action lawsuits, Suno and Udio's actions are unlawful, strike directly the music community's most vulnerable and valuable members. They could have licensed music lawfully, as many responsible AI companies already do. We allege they instead chose theft. Now, before I go on with the public statement, for some of the prominent names that have joined in this fight and helping just to spread the message and encourage people to kind of join, because you can still join, this is what Anthony Fantano has to say. This unadulterated laundering of musicians' creativity must stop. Curtis King. Notably, I am not anti-technology, but I am pro-ethical uses of technology. AI should not be a tool that diminishes the value of human artistry by saturating the streaming market with unearned content, further reducing the already minimal earnings of independent artists. Our goal is to ensure that creativity and human efforts remain at the forefront of the music industry, and that independent artists and musicians who have dedicated their lives to their craft are fairly compensated, respected, and protected. Now, going back to the public statement, as alleged in our class action lawsuits against Suno and Udio, we are, of course, alleging that in their admission that they trained on publicly available music, we still don't know what that means. Did you go over to Spotify? Did you go to YouTube? We're going to find out that information in our cases. But what's been interesting over the course of the last year that we've been covering this, the U.S. Copyright Office actually came out with the AI and copyrightability report. And this is what the U.S. Copyright Office, which is the most influential agency in the United States when it comes to all things copyright, had to say. The U.S. Copyright Office recently made clear that the unauthorized training of AI on creative works like music, which could have otherwise been licensed lawfully, does not qualify as fair use, and has expressed the view that such conduct is certainly not, quote, fair. And then, of course, as we've been covering on the channel, federal courts have recently and likewise come back and they go, well, we're going to look at this in the fair use, and we go, this is a really important distinction. Even if we're going to say fair use applies to AI training in order to create create something new, right? Like in the Anthropic lawsuit, right? The focus of that, and we're going to talk about the update, but the focus of that is that Anthropic trained on books to then create an internal system and a database, not to make more books, but to have something that Claude, right, the chat GBT of Anthropic, that Claude could pull from when it was doing outputs. So the important distinction here is that even in the cases where some courts are like, yeah, it is fair use because you're transforming on the original books or the creative stuff into something brand new, well, in that particular case, the court came back and goes, asterisk, except when the AI company goes and pirates, when it takes, when it steals, when it could have otherwise licensed or purchased. So that's a really important distinction because, again, with the Copyright Office being like, we don't think it's fair use, but in any other situation, if you're going to go and take books to then create competing books, it's probably not fair use. And now courts are saying that as well. They go, that's a really important distinction. The end product is a very important piece of whether it's fair to train on other people's creative stuff without authorization. We said this at the very beginning, and I want to highlight it, okay, because it's just that important. We said we stand united not against AI itself, but against corporations that have built systems on stolen music. And I just want to make a point to always reiterate that because, messaging gets confused. And for everyone who's been a part of this, and they said it, we're going to continue going through their statements, but this is not an anti-AI thing. It just so happens that these are AI companies. If it was a cupcake business that had stolen a bunch of music, we wouldn't be anti-cupcakes, all right? We would still be the issue of the taking of the music without authorization. Benn Jordan, on the other hand, says, having been involved with the early testing and development of using machine learning as a creative tool for musicians and sound designers, it would be hard to find someone more enthusiastic about AI's potential to push music production into a new era. But scraping existing original music without consent to train an AI model to generate music based on the material accomplishes very little, if anything at all, for art, artists, or even our consumers. What I see is a parlor trick that obfuscates the appearance of reselling IP without compensating the rights holders. Our friend DJ Payne 1 also going on to say, AI cannot create without our music. We never consented to having our music used to build a multi-billion-dollar technology. We have not been asked, we have not been paid, but we have been robbed, disrespected, and mocked by rich technocrats. This fight is bigger than music. So importantly, what's the goal here? Right, we have filed now class action lawsuits against Udio and Suno. Well, let's go back to the open letter. Independent creators stand behind these class action lawsuits against Suno and Udio. The goals are simple. Stop the theft, stop what is happening, remedy the harm you have caused, and we want to set case law that protects the next generation of artists. We are here to fight back. And what I can say is one of the most important features of what we're doing, it's not just, again, to seek a remedy for you guys, because you have never had a seat at the table when anything important has happened in the music business. It's always been major record labels who were able to pay for the representatives and pay for the legislation and pay for whatever. And that was a big driver for why we are here today. But also we get to literally set case law to protect all music creators on a move forward basis. And this is what Kuddie Fresh had to say. Producers like me spend years crafting sounds that define culture, and we deserve to be partners in shaping how AI learns from legacy. If we're included instead of overlooked, we can build a future where innovation honors the artists who made the music possible in the first place. Venus Theory going on to say, quote, "This is an industry propped up on venture capital that serves no purpose beyond being acquired by the next highest bidder and skating its way to its next series of funding before it all goes bust." I kind of love that he focused on that because especially, we mentioned Anthropic and the tens of billions that it was previously valued at. The 60 billion has significantly inflated. Artists should never be afraid to fight back by biting the hand that feeds itself solely on what it's taken from them. This is Tony Justice, and in fact, Tony Justice is our lead plaintiff. As an independent country artist and truck driver, I've worked extremely hard writing songs from the heart and building a career. To learn that companies like Suno and Udio took music without permission was devastating. This lawsuit is about standing up for every working artist who deserves respect for their God given talent. Now, of all of our wonderful creators, right, who have joined this fight, like I said, it was 1,300. We posted this, it got 1 million views already, and we have had so many new people who have signed up, but still continuing to advocate for us. We have Sync My Music. If companies like Suno and Udio want to truly support the future of music, getting consent from musicians before training on the work is a no-brainer. It's about showing basic respect for the people who build the sounds AI is learning from. When artists are included, not exploited, we get better tools, stronger communities, and a future where humans and AI create side by side, not at each other's expense. And I will say that for some of the AI music competitors that are starting to come out and really focusing on this ethical sourcing, on actually doing deals and getting them into place. And 11 Labs is one that comes to mind because for me, I just go, the way that they have done their deal, why every other AI company, why they didn't do this deal is beyond me. So the way that 11 Labs has done their deal is that they go, hey, we're signing up with Cobalt and Merlin, and we're going to get access to all the music. And of course, artists, they will opt in. Everything's going to be on the up and up, but we'll get access to all of this music. And then we can, if we make money, you make money. So meaning they're not going to pay anything up front. So in this rhetoric that we continue hearing from AI companies where they're like, it would have just been too expensive, it would have broken the bank. Even if that's the case, there's other ways to do deals where, you know, it's more of a let's work together, let's be collaborative, let's be honest and transparent. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking at some of those other cases. And of course, this was a quote from Billboard. Difficulty of proof does not insulate Suno or Udio from liability. Independent artists are entitled to discovery to demonstrate how their works were used and reproduced. And what we can see is that that question is becoming more and more important because even if a court does determine something is fair use, if the ultimate purpose is to compete and drown out the original thing that it trained on, a book, a painting, a song, probably not fair use. Now, this is an important piece on where we stand today because right now our lawsuits have been filed and we are at different stages in both of them. But what's going on in these other cases? Because I've mentioned now Anthropic a couple of times. This is from Music Business Worldwide. Anthropic settles authors' lawsuit over pirated books, and it could be a gift. Anthropic has actually reached a settlement. This is with book authors, right, who accused the AI company of illegally using their copyrighted books to train Claude. The resolution of the author's case could prove, well, significant, right? The company, which was then, when this article came out, valued at 61 billion. It's actually even more than that now. Evidence from the author's case has revealed that Anthropic downloaded millions of files from pirate websites. The music publishers originally sued, alleging that the chatbot was actually regurgitating copyrighted lyrics, right? So they go, well, it's literally spitting out our lyrics with very little prompt. And so we think that's because it was trained on our lyrics. And then what happened is that Anthropic played a bunch of games and it would not give discovery. It would not give the answers that were being requested. And in fact, the author's lawyers ended up finding out the information that essentially won them the case and got them to this place through a different lawsuit. Evidence emerged during the lawsuit, giving the new publishers ammunition. And the judge in that case, Judge William Alsup, found that Anthropic torrented, pirated 5 million files from these different platforms. And crucially, for the music publishers, the lawyers discovered that LibGen contains well over 1,000 illegal copies of sheet music, songbooks, and other lyric-related books. And they cited to, well, one that stood out was Seven Rings, right? Recorded by Ariana Grande, Tiny Dancer, written by Elton John, right? So guys, this is where we're at. As we're looking at these other cases, we've been looking at how courts are coming down on this. What I will say is that as I'm reading all these opinions from these courts, there is a real disdain for what these businesses have decided to do. And I think that the unfortunate connect is that it's AI related, right? And so somehow AI artists are getting a bad rap. AI companies, well, no, there are ethically sourced, ethical AI companies, artists who are using AI to enhance their craft, right? These are separate from what we're talking about. And so what can you do? Well, if you want to get involved, if you want to join, go to indieailawsuit.com and there's 2 ways to get involved. One is that you can become a plaintiff and it's pretty easy. You just sign up to be a plaintiff and then we'll do the rest. We'll let you know when there's updates. We'll let you know what we need from you. And even if you are outside the United States, please, by all means, sign up. And the other way is that if you want to just get on our email list, you can get updates and you can see how you can help, because this is not going to be an easy or a short process. As I like to say, there's a lot of risk for my law office and for the other law office that is involved, because this kind of thing goes on for years and years. But there are things that you just have to take up the calling, and no one else was going to do this. And so that's why we decided that it was time. So if you want to get involved, go to indieailawsuit.com. I'm top music attorney, Miss Krystle. See you on the next one.